long black Cadillac, hear that engine winding down. Pocket up on the sidewalk like he owned the whole damn town. I hear him talking to some chick through a thick ghost of smoke, through a thicker haze of southern comfort and cold. Said, girl, you're hotter than the hinges hanging on the gates of hell. Don't be afraid to turn to me now, baby, if he don't treat you well. And by he meant me. So I laughed and I shook his hand, and he laughed a little bit louder, and then he yelled up at the band, play me a train song, pour me one more round. They can leave my boots on when they lay me in the ground. I am a runaway locomotive out of my one-track mind. Yeah, I'm looking for any kind of trouble that I can find. I got this old black leather jacket, got this pack of Marlboro Reds, got a stash here in my pocket. I got these thoughts in my own head to ride to, run until I've got to walk, until I've got to crawl. This moment that we're in right now and nothing else at all. Playing a train song, pour me one more round. They can leave my boots on when they lay me in the ground. I am a runaway locomotive out of my one-track mind. Yeah, I'm looking for any kind of trouble that I can find. In the television blizzard lights, I looked around his place, found him cold there on the sofa, a little smile across his face.
Hey, Gabe, what's up? How are you?
All right, awesome, man. Let's do this.
Mike.
How's it
How are you?
going?
Good, buddy. You want a tour?
I do.
The museum?
I love a tour.
Well, come on, we'll start right here. No Bigfoot museum is complete without a salute to the people that really got this whole thing started, which is what this wall is right here. All the Bigfoot giants: Peter Byrne, Jeff Meldrum, Ron Moorhead, Al Berry. There's just so many of them. Of course, although the wall's not big enough, so these were my heroes. Most of these guys were my heroes when I was growing up. So the first thing you see when you come to the museum is a salute to the guys that stuck their neck out. It helped us get where we are now.
I'm not on there.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yep.
See Kentucky though.
Yep, Kentucky. I'm working on a brand new exhibit for Kentucky, and you're going to be in it.
Am I really?
Yes, sir.
Uh-oh. You heard that, folks. So, let's see. The first time I was here, this room was not built yet. This was your little workshop, right?
That's right.
So, this is now your presentation room?
Yep. So this is our conference room slash exhibit hall. So we do both. So we have exhibits in here, and then we fill the room full of chairs. We put about 65, 70 chairs in here. But most of the time, it's an exhibit room. So we only have about 6,000 square feet. We got to try to use it as wisely as possible. This is the Florida Skunk Ape exhibit. I just added this brand new cast here about 3 weeks ago. Cast by the Florida group. Chris Connor and his group cast that. Just an amazing cast right there. And got one here from Brooksville, Florida. And of course we have Robert Morgan's tranquilizer gun used during his foray into Florida. Big thanks to Mark DeWorth for setting that up for me, being able to bid on that. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I could build a whole museum just around the state of Florida.
Yeah.
Yep. You can't put that in a thing that people think that's real, so.
Yeah.
So I always thought that I'm a big museum nerd, I wish somebody had opened a Bigfoot museum because I was so interested as a kid and a young man. And after a while, after I moved up here about 5 years ago, I realized that nobody was going to open up what I had envisioned would be a good idea. And so my wife and I just got together and we said, you know what, I think we can do this because this area up here really needed some kind of a family attraction. So here's one of my favorite exhibits, it's the Abominable Snowman exhibit. Tom Slick's family lives in Atlanta, Georgia, and they were graceful enough to put this on loan to the museum. This isn't even all the stuff. A lot of the stuff is in magazine form, photograph form. So I've blown as much of it up and laid as much out as I can, but more than half of it is still in the collection. That's an original Bluff Creek cast made by Bob Timmons in 1959. Replicas of the hand and the scalp. And you can't have a Bigfoot museum without the beginning of it, which was the Native American legends of the Sasquatch, Oma. So we have a Native American display here as well. Handmade Sasquatch costume that Native Americans would have used in their dances.
Which one of these casts are your favorite, Dave?
My favorite is just because I'm in Georgia, is the Georgia cast over here. And that one was cast by a deputy back in the 90s. And it's been authenticated by the fingerprint expert Jimmy Chilcutt. We have the write-up as well, showing its authenticity, that it's a real footprint with real dermal ridges. Yeah. My favorite encounter that's ever come to this museum, it was one I was actually lucky enough to parlay into an exhibit. And that's when a gold miner in Alaska was drowning in a river. He had fallen off an embankment into a flooded river. And as he had sunk for the third time with his waders on and his gun and everything and realized he was going to come up for air, something had grabbed him by his waders and flung him out of the water and then stood over him while he sat there trying to catch his breath and smelled his whole face and neck and stood up. I mean, he saw the whole thing. And I think that the reason is because it actually took the time to come and save his life. And I think that it's so important to remember that these kind of encounters do happen. And probably for every 3 or 4 terrifying encounters, there are ones out there where these things prove that they actually take pity on us, and it just makes the whole picture so much more complex and more interesting than I just saw a big hairy thing cross the road. We created this exhibit about a year ago. This retired gold miner from Alaska who now lives in LJ brought me this just amazing, fantastic story about how he had a young one in his cellar, in his root cellar, that he let out, and 18 years later came back and saved his life when he was drowning in a flooded river, and just reached in and grabbed him by his overalls and just flung him in midair up onto the riverbank.
Wow.
Just an amazing story. Amazing. Love it. And I like it because it adds that layer that, for as scary as most encounters are, sometimes these things are very benevolent to us, and it just adds up to a very complex picture. Very complex. My favorite artifact in this museum is going to probably, as silly as it sounds, is I would have to say it's actually a tie between the butt cast and my friend John's pair of coveralls that he was wearing when Bigfoot grabbed him when he was drowning in a river in Alaska and flung him out and saved his life. So have to be one of those two. In my opinion, the cast were a very powerful piece of evidence back in the 70s and 80s, but now there's so many other stories come out, a lot of video and film, that I think they don't tell the complete story. So we have foot cast and hand cast here, but of course we have a lot more.
They consist of one or more connected ridge units of friction ridge skin. These ridges are also known as dermal ridges. The three basic patterns.
Growing up in South Florida, I used to hear stories about the skunk ape on local news, national news. It was in newspapers and magazines. So growing up when I was 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, it was a normal thing. People weren't laughing about it. People were seeing a large primate and people were having scary encounters with them. So to my young and impressionable mind, this was a legit animal, and they were having professors and trappers coming in. So I became very interested, because even then, biologists on TV were saying this thing doesn't fit here. So it just got my attention. Of course, we got our buddy Mike Woolley, one of the most credible and beloved witnesses of all time, telling his story.
And I knew, man, this thing is going to get me. It is mad. It is PO'd. It's going to get me. Well, I'm coming up on my truck, and I'm thinking, well, I got to stop to unlock my truck. And when I get ready to unlock the truck, he's going to make his move. He's going to have me. Well, something crossed my mind to fire a warning shot. Well, when I got to the tailgate of the truck, I threw my rifle to the left, pulled the trigger.
Still have barbed sheep cell. Exhibit. All our Bigfoot feeding items. And you'll want to clean it and dust it, but when you do that, you take the smudges away that are in it from Bigfoot. So this is the first exhibit I actually made. Probably the most important. Ron Moorhead's The Bigfoot Recordings from the Sierra Sounds, from his book Voices in the Wilderness. We have a copy of his cast that he cast in 1972. And that's too, because we have photographs of him casting the cast and photographs of the cast before he cast. People love this, because you can actually, still don't realize that that recordings of these things talking to each other exist. My favorite exhibit has to be the Ape Canyon exhibit, which was the first one I thought of in my mind, but the last one I finished. And of course, anybody that's familiar with that is when they shot it, a couple of them during the day, and they actually came back to visit them that night. And I think the important part to take away from that whole encounter is that if these things really wanted to, they got to rip the walls and the doors off that building and drag them out and kill them, but they didn't. And there's something to be understood about that they scared them all night but never harmed them. And I think that's an important part of that story. Of course, the last exhibit I finished was the Ape Canyon exhibit.
How many guests you get a week here?
This year we should do about 50,000 people a year.
Wow.
I don't know what that comes out to a week.
Of Boggy Creek, rated
I'm not sure if I know exactly which ones you're talking about. I know there's a lot in Ohio. West Virginia, Florida, Georgia. What's next? We're continuing to build. We have 3 or 4 exhibits, new exhibits coming to the museum, and we are considering building either a UFO museum here in town or a Florida skunk exhibit, of course, in Florida. So we're just trying to figure out. It's all about the location and enough parking. So it's probably going to be which one presents the opportunity first.
That was fantastic, man. A lot of interesting stuff that I had no idea even existed. A lot of really cool videos and audio clips to listen to. So overall, really great experience. Definitely would come back.
Awesome. This is your first time here?
First time here, yes.
Awesome. So you're going to come back?
I want to come back.
You believe in Bigfoot?
I do.
Have you been a Bigfoot believer for long?
Not as much as I was 5 minutes ago, so.
Well, that's good. That says a lot for the museum.
It does, yeah.
Just got finished here at Expedition Bigfoot. Go check it out. It's here in Cherry Log, Georgia. On to the next destination, Asheville, North Carolina, baby. Let's go.
If I walked away, I probably could make it to the interstate before they even noticed that I walked away. If I could just walk away. When I could find me a friend to take me where I'm going and I lie to his face and he'd never even know it if I walked away. If I could just walk away. Walk away, oh, I wanna just walk away. But I can't walk away. And then I could see my mom and tell her that I love her, and I'd hug my dad and I'd tell him not to worry that I walked away. If I could just walk away. Or I could find me some trains to surprise me when I wake up with it.
Whether you're walking down the cobblestone streets or you're over on Broadway checking out the shops, this is Asheville, North Carolina, folks.
Walk away, oh, I wanna just walk away. But I can't walk away. And if I walked away, I wouldn't have to worry if you like me today. Oh, why should I even bother? But if I may, should have just walked away. Because I meet these folks and they don't know where they're going.
Founded by the Americans in the 1790s, but previous to that, going back 6,000 years, where you're standing has always been a village. This road that goes down the hill this way ends up at the Great Lakes. This road going down the hill this way ends up in the Gulf of Mexico. This road going down this way ends up in the French Broad River, which in the day would take you all the way to New Orleans. And the cattle would come through town from the north, get parked over here in a corral. They had a river coming out of a natural spring off this mountain that went down a riverway called Water Street. And the cattle over here, the cowboys would get off their horses, pay someone a nickel or a dime or a penny or whatever to watch their horses overnight, and they would come into town where there was a hotel here, there was a hotel there, and there was a hotel over here, and numerous restaurants, well, saloons in between, and they would party. And if they didn't get arrested, they left the next day. If they did, they left about a week later, or whatever. And drove their cattle down to the markets in South Carolina and sold what they had to sell and came back here with their money and did it all over again. Now, I would suggest that nothing's really changed except the prices, because Asheville is still party central. It's a place where people come to get away from. And that's the way people settled in Asheville. The people that came here the first 100 years came here and they were rugged mountain people. They were people that made it through the trails, came up this road, and did not stop in what became Johnson City, did not stop in what became Chattanooga, or Greenville, or Spartanburg, or Richmond. They made it to Asheville, and those were hardy folk. And the town was populated by hardy folk. This is the center of the town right there where we're standing. All the areas to the north and east were farmlands and individual houses. The north-south road, which is what we're looking at right here, these buildings that you see right there going north are the same buildings that were put here in 1892. They're still here. But you'll notice this area around the city hall has all kinds of building in it, and now it's wide open because over the course of the next 50 years, the town went through a series of explosions as far as population, finances, and culture. Asheville became a center of opera, theater, finance, construction, real estate. Mr. Vanderbilt showed up here in 1885 to stay in a hotel that was built by that same guy that brought the railroads up here, and he stayed here. He saw the mountains, and he had two thoughts. Damn, this is beautiful, and wow, those mountains have no trees. Because the logging industry had stripped them bare in the previous 100 years, so he vowed he would be the guy that was going to repopulate the mountains with new trees. And so he started the School of Forestry, and they put about putting in 17 million seedlings up in Asheville. Up until yeah, that's part of it. Up until 1880, Asheville was a city that had no manufacturing. We had no big corporate things. We had a tanning, leather tanning place down. We had a cotton mill that made fabric out of cotton, and those are the only two industries in town up until the 1890s. And there was no smokestacks. There was no, sheet metal. There was no union. There were no people working here like they were in Philadelphia, New York, New Jersey, Richmond, Atlanta. This town was not. It was a party town. It was a drover's highway town up until 1880. The cattle were coming through here 6 to 8 months of the year. After that point, they'd load the cattle on the trains and haul them all over the country. They bypassed Asheville, which was good because now Asheville had a railroad, and now we had people, now we had businesses, and those people's businesses is what populated the town. Basic history is something of a roller coaster. When it was up, it was phenomenal. When it was down, it would drag along for upwards of 50 years, which is what happened during the Depression. This city went from a boom town during the 20s, and it was a boom town, financially, culturally, socially. It was a town that people wanted to get to because there was opportunities to be had. In 1930, the town went through a depression that lasted 50 years. And it went through 50 years for reasons we'll get into in a little bit. But just note that for those 50 years, the population dwindled to about 60% of its height back in 1930.
So, Tebby, what got you wanting to become a tour guide here?
Oh God, I moved to Asheville in came here in 96, moved here finally in 2003, And within 6 weeks of living here, I was working at the visitor center, giving tourist directions around town on a map upside down.
Wow.
And I fell in love with the city, and it got me so curious about what was going on here. I mean, the links to Thomas Wolfe and Edwin Grove and all these famous names that I kept hearing about. It was just one of those things where I was just increasingly curious as the days went by, and I just started teaching myself. And I'd go downtown, down to the library here, and I just educated myself. And I became friends with a guy named Kevin Frazier, who's a local historian, PhD, Dr. Kevin Frazier from Western Carolina University, and we became good friends. And he had just started this company where he was doing walking tours. So he asked me if I wouldn't help him out with the tours, and I just became very enamored by the whole process. I've done stand-up in my day, and I've done theater in my day, and I had a rock band back in the 70s and 80s, and so I'm just like a natural entertainer. But this matches the entertainer as well as the information and the historian in me. And since I've been doing this, I do tours to Scotland. I take tours to Scotland the last 4 or 5 years, where I take people to the Scottish borders and the Highlands and the islands and Edinburgh and places like that. So it's sort of like a little niche thing, and it kind of adds to my artistry, because I'm an artist here in town. I have a studio at the River Arts District. But this kind of like feeds another side of me besides the artwork.
Yeah. What's your favorite thing about doing tours? I mean, I guess it'd be the people, right?
It's definitely the people. I mean, I meet people from all over the world. I've had people from Japan, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, all the countries of Europe, probably almost every state in America, except for like Alabama. I haven't had anybody from like Montana or South Dakota or any place like that. But we get people from Michigan on a regular basis, California, Florida, Texas. A lot of people from New York come down here and are very interested in finding out something about the city. I mean, I'm very fascinated by the fact that Asheville was enamored by becoming the New York City of the South, not realizing what it takes to become a New York City of anything. They just started naming things after New York and thinking that if you build it, they will come, and they didn't.
Wow. So are you pretty satisfied this is probably where you'll be at for the rest of your life?
I like to tell people I already bought my burial place.
Okay. That's awesome.
I haven't, but I like to tell them that.
If you're anything like me, my burial place is going to be in a coffee can.
My burial place is going to be somewhere in some dump somewhere. By the time I'm dead, man, you don't know what this country's going to be like.
No,
let's not
man.
talk about that, then. Edit that out.
Whether you're eating crispy pig ears here at Zombra, or eating pork belly tacos, or watching yourself on TV, or checking out the local street musicians.
But if I had money like I did in my day, I'd buy a car and drive it real far away. Except you know I got this debt to repay to society. Oops, dear me. With good behavior, I'll be out in 7 years. Don't worry over me or shed any tears. I learned a lot in here, yeah, and I know what a chance I blew. Yes, I blew. Next time I won't make the same mistakes, no. I shoot the camera out too, and the guard, and you. I'm learning all kinds of things you can do when you're broke. But I'm broke, wearing out shoes left and right, walking down that highway day and night. She got me walking the floor, so I walked right out that door, and ain't never going back there anymore. And I'll be wearing out my walking shoes, walking off this
Stopping in here to see my buddy Mark here at Rickard Ridge Barbecue. It's going to be awesome.
wearing out my lonesome, leaving me so all alone, never coming back again, gone blue. sipping on a bottle all night long. Swapping.
Well, my goal, I feel like I'm kind of living it every day. A part of it is introducing people to great barbecue. A lot of people had barbecue, but not everybody's had great barbecue. Hey Mike, come on back. We got chicken thighs today. Let's show you a little sampling of standard. I like to tuck my skins in, so when they come off the smoker, they look really pretty. No scraggly ends. Cooked since I was a little guy. I mean, all sorts of things. Grew up all over the country. When I started high school, my folks had moved to Memphis, and just around great barbecue for all the time, everywhere. It's just everywhere down there. And started getting into competition cooking, and it just became more and more fun the better I got at it, and started kind of placing pretty high in some of these categories. And I thought, you know, I think I could do this for the masses. So here I am. And then I use my seasonings. I use garlic salt. All-purpose seasoning, which brand names will be excluded. Black pepper. Go light on the pepper. It's the most overpowering spice that I use on these. And a poultry seasoning. I'll season both sides, and then on the smoker they go for about anywhere from 4.5 hours, somewhere in that area, depending on the wind, the temperature, the humidity. There's all sorts of factors. So let's put them on the smoker. Nope, this is our smoker. It's got a double-sided rotisserie. Most times we give the smoker the day off on a Sunday, which is today. So normally it'd be full of meat. So anyway, we've got two sides here. Firebox is in the middle. That way I can cook. On this side, normally cook Boston butts. I can put 24 Boston butts on a cook on this side. This side, I'm able to cook poultry, which will be chicken thighs today, ribs, brisket, whatever, and maintain two products cooking at the same time instead of get cross-contamination and all that type of thing. So this thing I've had for 13.5 years. That's why it's looking a little rough, but it still works fine. Anyway, so that's where the magic. Well, I think a lot of people just haven't been exposed to different styles of barbecue, and the ones that may have been exposed may not have been the best of that region. Myself, I get people that travel. We're half mile off I-75 here, and I get people from all over the country. And there's a whole lot of people that seek out barbecue restaurants as they travel because they want to experience that. And I get people from Texas, from Kansas City, from wherever, and they tell me, well, I hear this on a regular basis, and it never ever gets old, that this is every bit as good as what I have back home. It's just different. So that, to me, that's nice to be able to expose the true meaning of the barbecue world and the quality that it can be. about 4.5 hours, between 4 and 5, depending on the weather, the humidity, what have you. So they're pretty much just about fall off the bone, and they're the most unique tasting chicken.
There we go.
Enjoy.
Oh my God.
Something else, isn't it?
Wow, man.
Some people aren't even sure it is chicken that tastes so unique and
I'm
is
not
so
even
good.
sure you're human making this. I think you were hatched on another planet, man. That is.
Well, I was Memphis. Yes, yeah, they're something special. When we do competition cooking, this is my go-to poultry category.
Wow. That's amazing. And just those 4 or 5 spices.
Four simple spices, very lightly. And it's just a combination of the smoke, and this is what I was telling you about the mix of hickory and white oak. It doesn't overpower it with smoke, because they were on there for a long time. 4.5 hours is a decent amount of time for that small of a piece of meat.
Yeah, man. What's the temperature you cook at?
Like 225.
225?
Somewhere right there.
Wow. All that. You got it. Just put this on the menu and let it be. This would sell every day.
I told, when I first opened up, I told my people, I said, now, these things right here are going to put us on the map. And they all thought I was just full of crap.
Look at you now.
Well, people come year after year that travel and come in here and just like, I couldn't wait to get some more of the chicken thighs. I want some of the chicken thighs, so.
These chicken thighs, the best I've ever had. And that's including mine.
So, anyway. Yeah, that's it, man. That's about one of my. I'm very proud of them.
I would be. I'm proud of you for them. Yeah, man. Awesome.
Just had a sampling of the chicken thighs. They're special, so I always like turning them into little gems of goodness, I guess you could say. But my ribs are pretty special. I do a really healthy, meaty rib that's 2 1/4 pounds per slab, and they're baby back loin ribs. And I do dry rub. Being from Memphis, that's the big controversy, whatever you want to call it, dry rub or wet ribs, and I've always been a big fan of dry rub. So you don't get those in a lot of places because you really have to watch them and take a little bit extra care than most people are willing to do, and they show. I do a smoked salmon. I'll run it on special. I don't do it all the time, but I'll take my rib rub, sprinkle it on the salmon, I'll drizzle it with honey, and I'll put it on the smoker for about an hour, 50 minutes or an hour, depending on the temperature, and that honey caramelizes over it. So even if it gets a little past medium, the moisture's locked in, and it gets so flaky, so moist. It's just a good hint of smoke, hint of sweetness, spice from the rub. It's pretty special also.
This moment that we're in right now ain't nothing else at all. Playing a train song. Pour me one more round. They can leave my boots on when they lay me in the ground. I am a runaway locomotive out of my one-track mind. Yeah, I'm looking for any kind of trouble that I can find.